Chapter 10 The Lobster Quadrille. The Mock Turtle is very sad. He looks at Alice and tries to talk, but he cries for a little time. The Griffin says, "It's like he has something in his throat." The Griffin shakes and hits the Mock Turtle's back. At last, the Mock Turtle can talk again. He cries and says, "You may not live in the sea much," Alice says. "I don't," the Mock Turtle says, "and maybe you never meet a lobster." Alice starts to say, "I eat one time," but she stops and says, "No, never." The Mock Turtle says, "So you don't know how nice a lobster quadrille is." "No, I don't," Alice says. "What kind of dance is it?" The Griffin says, "You first make a line by the sea." "Two lines," the Mock Turtle says. "Seals, turtles, fish, and more. Then, when you move all the jellyfish away—" "That takes some time," the Griffin says. "You move forward two times," the Mock Turtle says. "Each with a lobster friend," the Griffin says. "Yes," the Mock Turtle says. "Move forward two times, dance with your friend." "Change lobsters and go back the same way," the Griffin says. Then the Mock Turtle says, "You throw the lobsters!" the Griffin shouts and jumps. "As far in the sea as you can," the Mock Turtle says. "Swim after them!" the Griffin screams. "Turn around in the sea," the Mock Turtle shouts and dances. "Change lobsters again," the Griffin yells very loud. "Go back to land." And that's the first part. The Mock Turtle says in a quiet voice. The two animals, who jump around like crazy things all this time, now sit down very sad and quiet. They look at Alice. "It must be a very nice dance," Alice says in a shy way. "Don't you want to see a little of it?" the Mock Turtle asks. "Yes, very much," Alice says. "Let's try the first part," the Mock Turtle says to the Griffin. "We can't do it without lobsters. Who sings?" "Oh, you sing," the Griffin says. "I don't remember the words." So they start to dance around Alice in a serious way. Sometimes they step in her toes when they come too close. They move their front legs to show the time. The Mock Turtle sings this song very slow and sad. "Will you walk a little faster?" said the whiting to a snail. "There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail. See how eagerly the lobster and the turtles all advance. They are all waiting on a shingle. Will you come and join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you, will you join the dance? Will you, won't you, won't you join the dance? You can really have no notion how delightful it will be when they take us up and throw us with the lobsters out to sea." But the snail replied too far, and gave a look askance. Said he thanked the whiting kindly, but he would not join the dance. Would not, could not, would not, could not, would not join the dance. Would not, could not, would not, could not join the dance. "What matters it how far we go?" his scaly friend replied. "There's another shore, you know, upon the other side. The further off from England, the nearer is to France. Then turn a pale, beloved snail, but come and join the dance. Will you, won't you, will you join the dance? Will you, won't you, won't you join the dance?" "Thank you. It's a very interesting dance to watch," Alice says. She is happy it is over. "And I like that funny song about the fish." "Oh, about the fish," the Mock Turtle says. "You see them, right?" "Yes," Alice says. "I often see them at dine—" She stops fast. I don't know where dying is, the Mock Turtle says, but if you see them a lot, you know what they look like. I think so, Alice says. They have their tails on their mouth and they have crumbs all over. You're wrong about the crumbs, the Mock Turtle says. Crumbs wash off in the sea, but they have their tails in their mouths. And the reason is, the Mock Turtle yawns and closes his eyes. Tell her about the reason, he says to the Griffin. The reason is, the Griffin says, they want to go with the lobsters to the dance. So they get thrown in the sea, so they fall a long way. So their tails get stuck in their mouths, so they can get them out. That's all. Thank you, Alice says. It's very interesting. I never know so much about fish before. I can tell you more, the Griffin says. Do you know why it's called a whiting? I never think about it, Alice says. Why? It cleans the boots and shoes, the Griffin says in a serious way. Alice is very confused. It cleans the boots and shoes, she says in a surprised way. What makes your shoes so shiny? The Griffin asks. Alice looks at her shoes and thinks for a little time. They're cleaned with black stuff, I think. Boots and shoes under the sea, the Griffin says in a deep voice, are cleaned with a whiting. Now you know. And what are they made of? Alice asked in a very curious way. Fish parts, of course, the Griffin says, in a not happy way. Any small fish can tell you that. If I am the whiting, Alice says, still thinking about the song, I say to the big fish, stay back, please. We don't want you with us. They must have him with them, the Mug Turtle says. No smart fish goes anywhere without a big fish. Really? Alice says in a very surprised way. Of course not, the Mock Turtle says. If a fish comes to me and says he's going on a trip, I ask, with what big fish? Don't you mean purpose? Alice asks. I mean what I say, the Mock Turtle says in an angry way. The Griffin says, let's hear some of your adventures. I can't tell you my adventures from this morning, Alice says in a shy way. But it's no use to talk about yesterday, because I am a different person then. Explain all that, the Mock Turtle says. No, no, the adventure first, the Griffin says in a not patient way. Explanations take too much time. So Alice starts to tell them her adventure from when she first sees a white rabbit. She is a little nervous at first. The two animals get very close to her, one on each side. They open their eyes and mouths very wide, but Alice gets more brave as she talks. Her listeners are very quiet until she gets to the part about saying, "You are old, Father William," to the caterpillar. The words come out different. Then the Mock Turtle takes a long breath and says, "That's very strange." "It's all as strange as it can be," the Griffin says. "It all comes out different," the Mock Turtle says, in a thinking way. "I want to hear her try to say something now. Tell her to start." He looks at the Griffin like the Griffin can tell Alice what to do. "Stand up and say, 'Tis the voice of the lazy person," the Griffin says. How these animals tell me what to do and make me say lessons, Alice thinks. I might as well be in school. But she stands up and starts to say it. Her head is so full of lobster quadrille that she doesn't know what she's saying. The words come out very strange. "'Tis the voice of the lobster," I heard him declare. You have baked me too brown, I must sugar my hair. As I dug with its eyelids, so he with his nose trims his belt and his bottoms, and turns out his toes. When the sands are all dry, he is gay as a lark, and will talk in contemptuous tones of the shark. But when the tide rises and sharks are round, his voice has a timid and tremulous sound. That's different from what I say when I'm a child, the griffin says. Well, I never hear it before, the mock turtle says. But it sounds very silly. Alice says nothing. She sits down with her face in her hands. She wonders if anything will happen in a normal way again. I want it explained, the mock turtle says. She can't explain it, the griffin says fast. Go on with the next part. But what about his toes? The mock turtle asks. How can he turn them out with his nose? It's the first position in dancing, Alice says, but she's very confused by everything. She wants to change the subject. Go on with the next part. The griffin says in not a patient way. It starts, I walk by his garden. Alice is afraid not to do what they say. She feels sure it will all be wrong, but she goes on in a shaky voice. I walk by his garden and see, with one eye, how the owl and the panther are sharing a pie. What is the use of saying all that stuff? The mock turtle stops her. If you don't explain it as you go, it's the most confusing thing I ever hear. Yes, I think you should stop, the griffin says. Alice is very happy to stop. Should we try another part of the lobster quadrille? The griffin asks. Or do you want the mock turtle to sing you a song? Oh, a song, please, if the mock turtle is so kind, Alice says. She says it so fast that the griffin says, in a not happy way, no understanding tastes. Sing her turtle soup, will you, old friend? The mock turtle takes a deep breath and starts to sing in a voice sometimes full of tears. Beautiful soup, so rich and green, waiting in the hot tureen. Who for such dainties would not stoop? Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup, beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup, who cares for fish, game, or any other dish? Who would not give all else for two? Pennyworth only of beautiful soup. Beautiful soup, beautiful soup. Soup of the evening. Beautiful, beautiful soup. Sing it again, the griffin shouts. The mock turtle just starts to sing it again when they hear a cry far away. The trial's starting! Come on! The griffin shouts. It takes Alice's hand and hurries away. It doesn't wait for the end of the song. What trial is it? Alice asks as she runs. But the griffin only says, Come on! And she runs faster. They hear more and more quiet, carried on the wind that follows them. The sad words, Soup of the night, beautiful, beautiful soup.